Welcome back to the garage, ladies and gents, and thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, we're back at it on this old 90 model Sportster. We still got quite a ways to go on this bike. For this video, we're actually going to start out on the rear fender. We got a little bit of trimming we got to do on it, so let's go take a look and see what we got. So the fender that we're dealing with on this bike is actually the factory, well, I think it's the factory fender, but somebody has already cut on it. You can see here where it's been trimmed up. Now, it did have a 2-up seat on it, actually a factory Harley Davidson seat, obviously mounted back here. And what we were dealing with is this guy right here, if you remember, if you saw the first videos, was mounted right there. Now this thing doesn't look that bad really, but this is a piece of junk. The hardware that's holding it on is very weak. I don't even think it's going to tighten up enough to hold this. And then somebody went in already and just made some cuts here and bent this to weaken the metal. Not sure why they did that, but they did it to kind of make it work. Also, our mount holes back here, they're not perfectly centered. Now you could fix that by elongating the holes, but we're not going to deal with that. Now I did look online for another option to mount something back here just like that was. I found some stuff. I actually found one that looked like a pretty decent option, but unfortunately it was just too big to fit right here because remember, your seat's still going to mount right there. And also I just didn't like the way it looked. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and actually just trim up this way and try to just take this bottom section off. And the reason is we can get rid of these mount holes, and also somebody right here hit the metal and already gouged into it with the angle grinder, I think just whenever they were doing the cutting. And of course that means we are going to be going with another side mount tag. Now I've actually done that on this will be the 4th bike in a row I've done that on, so I promise on the next bike we will not be doing that because of the kind of bike it is. But for this one, kind of what we were given, I just feel like that's kind of our best option, but again, that's just kind of my opinion on it. That's the way we're going to go with it. Now, you could go in and obviously get rid of our 2-up seat and just do a solo seat because it's got the mount hole up here. The problem with that is this. Let me show you if I can find it here. Here is our seat. Here's a pretty good look at it. Hope you guys can see it. It is a factory seat. It is a factory Harley Davidson seat. The only bad spot I can find on this entire seat is right here. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny little spot. Everything else is going to clean up and this thing is going to look great. And seats are expensive. Well, quality seats are expensive. So there is no way we're going to ditch this seat. I think it works perfectly fine. You know, I do like cutting fenders and chopping stuff up, but boy, once you do it, you're kind of committed to it. I'm just putting this tape on here to kind of give us something to draw on. So to kind of get our curve that we want to get here to do the trimming, I actually got this little piece of paper here that I just use as a template. Now, I got this curve right here, honestly, from just tracing it up against another fender in the garage. You can use something as simple as this roll of tape. You could use a plate, a bowl, just about anything, a Tupperware lid, just to kind of help get you a curve. And as long as you consistently use it the same on each side, you'll usually come out pretty good. Now on this one, it would make sense from the looks to kind of start way back here and just do a sweeping curve up through here. The problem is because of how this mounts down here and how the I guess we'll call them the struts on the frame, if I go too far, the struts are gonna hang over. So we're kind of limited. So this is gonna be a very short cut. And what's gonna happen is this is gonna end up being rather flat through here. But I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me because this thing's already pretty butchered up. Just trying to eyeball it. There's nothing high end here in this garage. That's actually not a good angle. I need to bring it down just a little bit. Now we're going to take our high end tracing device here. That's good enough. I can see it. Right there, maybe. Now we're just going to connect the dots. I'm going to try my best to keep my head out of the shot. And let's just go, sure. Now we're just going to make a cut along the line that we just traced. There she is. Now we got a perfect line we can cut up against. See where we made our first cuts there. Got pretty close. It's pretty jagged right now. We just cut off the excess. I got a little too close right there. What we're going to do now is we're going to take this finishing disc that's on the grinder, and all we're going to do is just kind of work our way up towards the tape with the idea of kind of, you know, mimicking that line. Now, the tape isn't perfect, so what I'll do when I'm done is I will pull the tape off and then just use this finishing disc as needed just to kind of smooth it out and eyeball it. Let's look at our handiwork here and see if we need to do any touch-ups with the grinder. Curve here looks pretty dang good on this side. Got one spot here that was already on the fender we might hit with the grinder just a little bit. Over here, curve looks pretty good. You can see we kind of got the same thing. We'll hit that as well. Just a little bit, smooth that out. Might have a little bit right here. And then up here, looking pretty straight. Actually, it came out a little better than I thought on the top. Let's get this tape off of here. I think this is kind of getting in the way a little bit. Of course, it's not wanting to come off. I think I put the tape on there a little too good. There we go. Get off of here. Come on. There we go. Now I can see it. The tape might have been throwing me off a little bit. Oh, it took some dirt off. That's good. Now let's take a look at her here. Literally might just do, if I get my finger on the spot, right here. Other than that, man, it is pretty close. You can see that got us pretty dang close. So I think I'll hit the spots here on the sides. Maybe do a little bit right there. And then get that one down here on the bottom. Just give it a little tickle with the grinder. I think that little touch-up did the trick. See, that got smoothed out a little bit. The back of it over here, I think it's pretty close. It's definitely not perfect. I could keep messing with it all day, but then I'll just start running out of fender. And then this side, we got it smoothed out pretty good. I actually worked on this one a little bit more just now off camera to get it. But I think we are good. So now we're just going to work on cleaning up these edges a little bit, smoothing them out, and just get this sucker painted. The front fender on this bike's really not in that bad a shape. I mean, there are a few little rust spots, and we got one little kind of dent spot right there, but for the most part, it's going to look good, especially whenever we repaint it. The one thing I did notice is the mounts right here are a little tweaked, meaning that the fender kind of sits on there a little crooked. So what we'll do, throw this in the vise. You can use some channel locks on it. Usually you can bring them around pretty good. Of course, the one problem, I didn't even freaking think about it. You got to have the front wheel on in order to get it lined up right. And of course, the wheel miracled its way onto the bike. Let's do a quick mock-up here. And the wheel will be coming back off. We still gotta do a lot of work to it. So you can see here where the fender is definitely off in this direction. Now, it's not horrible. I mean, you could probably let it go. I mean, the fender itself doesn't look too bad. Now, I have seen some fenders that are kind of offset from the factory, but that's not the case here, because when you look down through here, you can see the fender kind of going in that direction. Doesn't show as well on camera. And also up here, we've got like a little hump or a dent or a bend, whatever you want to call it, where it got hit. But let's see if we can't straighten it up. Of course, this is very scientific. Just give her some tweaks. Just a little bit at a time. Hopefully we can make a difference. little bit more. And again. Well, after 3 tries, I think we got it. It's pretty centered. I mean, it might be off a hair, but I do not want to be tweaking on those mounts anymore because they were moving a pretty good bit. But this is good news, so now we got both fenders ready for paint. Well, since our fenders are ready for paint, we'll go ahead and mock up this brand new gas tank. Make sure it's going to fit. I don't even know if these, I got everything on here right. Oh, there it is, right on. What is my malfunction here? There she goes. This tank is a tank from TC Bros, if anybody's interested. Not the cheapest in the world, but I've usually had pretty good luck with their stuff. I think our alignment on this one's pretty good. I think we're going to be in good shape. If you're putting stuff like this on your bike, always mock it up first, especially if you're going to be painting it and everything, because you just never know. You never know how stuff's going to fit. Because not only do you not know who made the tank, you also don't know what was done to the frame or the bike beforehand. And we're looking good from this end. I think this tank's going to work pretty nicely. And as far as sealing them goes, if you do seal your tanks, I still like to test them with gas. I like to fill them up. I'm actually going to test this one right here on the bike off camera. I'm just going to put the petcock on it and fill it up. I would really hate to spend a lot of money or put a lot of effort into painting something only to have it leak. Just my thoughts is all. But I think once we do that, this sucker is going to be ready for some paint. Well, I have been debating whether or not to spray this frame, but there's too many rust spots on here to ignore. So we're just going to give it a little, scratch it up here a little bit. It won't be nothing fancy. It'll just be the good old Rust-Oleum Restore. Well, some of these rust spots, though, are pretty bad. I think this rust was a lot worse than I realized. Full restoration time in progress. Just like brand new. And we'll just ignore the fact that my truck is in the background. But it's old, it'll be fine. Well, I've got to get some ventilation in here. Can't even breathe. Whew. I think one more coat's going to do it. Okay, we'll let that sit. I think that's going to do it. I was holding off on frame polishing because I wanted to paint up here. So now we're going to throw a coat on here on everything else and just kind of see how it all looks together after we did our cheap handiwork up here with the rattle can. Well, let's see how she looks. Surely it's a little better. It's looking pretty good. There's some shine. There are some rust spots on this swing arm, but they're pretty small in comparison to what we painted. Oh yeah, old tank's coming around a little bit. Not too bad. That came out a little better than I thought it would, to be honest. Kind of looking around here, kind of brought that frame out pretty good compared to where it was. And I think our paint color choice actually matches back to this factory coating pretty good. I never did show you guys, this is what we used. It is a semi-gloss. And of course, you know you're a high-end body shop, right, when you're using the paint and primer combo in your rattle can. And then up here where you kind of have this transition between what we painted and what was on there from the factory. Remember, you're going to have your gas tank here, so that's going to kind of help break up, you know, any differences you may see. And plus, the tank itself is going to come up, you know, pretty far. Now back here where we painted over the rust spots, now of course we did sand them down really good and we kind of roughed it up. There is a really good chance in the future that you're going to have some more flaking on this. It's just kind of what it is, right, because of all that rust that was on there. So you kind of know that going into it. You know, you just know this is not going to be really a long-term solution on this. There's no way this is going to replace, you know, sandblasting it and repowder coating and all that. But you know what, I think for what it is and what we're going for, I think we did pretty good. Well, I have went and got one of the most notorious Amazon specials that I think you can get. This right here is actually one of those, I don't know, I think it was like around 50 bucks. $50 CV carb on Amazon. Now, I don't necessarily recommend these. Of course, even if it runs good on this bike, I don't know if I recommend them. But we're already losing money on this bike, so this is what's going on, and we're going to give it a whirl and see if it actually works. The funny thing is you actually, if you go buy a quality carb kit, rebuild kit, gasket kit, whatever you want to call it, for an actual CV carb, you're going to spend more than you are on this whole carb. So it is something to consider depending on your budget. So let's take a look here and see what we got. It actually comes with quite a bit of stuff. We got these little cleaning brush things. I guess these are just for cleaning out passageways and jets. I don't know, but it could probably be useful for something else. I usually just use brake clean to do that. Oh, we got some filters. I don't know why they put this stuff in here. Boy, that is some cheap, cheap stuff. I mean, not only is it plastic, it's pretty junky. This might be good for your old riding mower. It's about where I would use it. Well, that one's even worse. Kind of amazing. This is only $50. And what do we got in here? Oh, we got jets. That's good because we're going to need to take this thing apart and make sure we at least try to get a good starting point. Jets are good. Hopefully they're not too crappy. And spark plugs. They're called VRs. I have no idea what VR is. Is that a thing? I seriously doubt it. What does it say on it? All it says on it, besides VR, well, we got a number right there, but then it just says spark plug. Well, I mean, I guess it's living up to the hype, right? Stuff off to the side. And here's the actual carb. Look at this fuel line. There is no way I would run that. Again, maybe for your riding mower. All right. I mean, it looks like a CV carb. I guess we'll find out if it works like a CV carb. That's this drain. Of course, the drain's not even long enough. That's fine. They do give you a brass, what do you call this? We'll call it fitting, whatever. You know, because usually on a lot of carbs, these were actually plastic from the factory, which was silly because if you over tighten them, you can crack them. It's just somebody being cheap. But I guess we'll give it a whirl and see if it actually works. And again, we do need to get in there to check the jets, change some stuff out there. But don't worry, there's more. We have more Amazon specials. That's right. To go with our super cheap junky carburetor, we've got a super cheap breather that I swore I would never use, because there was an '08 Sportster I did on the channel that had one of these types on there, and I said I would never buy one of those. But since we're sewing the hole on this thing, this is what we're going to do. I mean, it looks cool. That's about as far as it goes, I guess. It kind of mounts up like that. It kind of has a neat look to it. This was like, I think this was like $35. So all in, we're still under $100 for this entire setup. I am concerned about the carburetor actually working like it's supposed to. But I'm also concerned about this stuff actually fitting and mounting up, because that's usually where you run into problems. So let's see if these actually line up, because this was a problem on that other bike. No, I think this actually lines up good. Do these even thread? Oh, they do thread. Look at that. I'm impressed. I halfway expected these not to thread in properly. But the question is, will these all start and line up properly? And they do. Wow, that is amazing. All right, well, good. That's a good start. It means I don't have to get the grinder to it, at least not yet. Oh, they're tight. They are tight. Oh, this one came off. That's good. There, broke that one loose. We got two of them. All right, looks like a CV carb. Let's hope this is not stuck, because that would not be any good. I do have, oh good, there it goes. I do have a 45 that came with the kit, which is good. So let's see what this guy is and see if we need to pop it in there. Let's see what we got here. If I can read the freaking thing. This is also a 45. We'll put this 45 back in. I can't believe I was able to actually read that. My vision freaking sucks. Oh, it's pulling the whole freaking tube with it. And there's no wrench flats on the tube. Well, how in the heck am I supposed to get the dang main jet out of there? You know it's bad when you're already getting the vice grips out twice. There, now we got it. This is probably going to be too rich for this bike, but I don't know. We're going to be running wide open pipes, and then of course this wide open breather, so it might be okay for it. All right, one more thing I want to test on this carb before we throw it on the bike is the accelerator pump. You can actually do this with the bowl off of the carburetor. It's pretty convenient. I actually do this too a lot of times, and I just replace the accelerator pump on carbs that I know work, just to make sure there's no dirt or debris trapped in there. But since I don't trust this thing, there's no telling what could be in there from manufacturing. Let's see if it'll work here. So all I did, poured some fuel in there, just a little bit. This is actually 2-stroke mix because it was, it was in a can. It was easier to pour. It's not going to hurt anything. But you should get fuel shooting out up this way for the actual accelerator pump. And since this bowl is off the carburetor, you're probably going to get some shooting up as well. So just kind of know that. But let's see what we get. Let's see if it works. Whoa, there we go. That's actually pretty good. And yeah, it's also good when you get it all over your arm and your freaking pants. That's fine, whatever. But at least our accelerator pump works. So at least that way when we throw this on the bike, we know we're going to get fuel shooting in the cylinders, so it'll at least give it a chance to bark off like it's supposed to. We're going to loosely mount our intake on here, and then we'll use the back plate and the carburetor to just kind of help line it up. I don't know if I can even get it started. Let's see if that's any better. Yeah, I think that'll work. Did I get it? Yeah, I did. Good, good, good. Well, we had our carb all ready with the back plate on it to throw on the bike. That way we can get everything just kind of loosely mocked up to get that manifold torqued down. And I already noticed a problem. Let me show you what happened. And it is involving the, the little cheap Amazon stuff here. So put this on there, and I noticed we're having a bit of a problem. I did go ahead and put the gasket on there because the thickness of the gasket does come into play. This back plate, unfortunately, is making contact with the top of the carb. Now, it's not much. I mean, it's just barely a small amount, and you honestly could probably get away with not doing anything, but it's cheap junk, so I'm going to hit it with the file and just kind of, take a little bit of material off there, and it should seat just fine. Of course, I'll have to get some paint up there too to touch it up, which is kind of unfortunate, but this is the problem with this kind of stuff, and I'm actually, at first, I was shocked that everything fit right, but this doesn't really surprise me much at all. This stuff is like that. You buy this cheaper stuff, you spend $35 on a breather, this is what you're going to get. And just because Amazon says it's going to fit your bike doesn't mean you're not going to have to get out the grinder or the Dremel or the file or anything like that. So we'll get that squared away, and then we'll toss this on the bike and see if we can't get that manifold torqued down. Well, we got our filing done on our back plate. I kind of hate to do that, but it is a cheap unit, so not really concerned. And as a plus side, you actually can't see it there, so in the looks department it's fine, which I think matters to most people. Is this not on? No, it's in there all the way. What is my... Oh, I think I'm the one with the problem. You know what I did? Good grief, I have some short bolts to use up here. I was actually excited. I found some nice looking bolts to run up here, because remember, this is not a head breather, so they just bolt there. But on this back plate, it doesn't bend in. You got to have, it's got the spacers that came with it that should have been the giveaway. So I've got to go find some longer bolts before I can do this. Great. Well, we got something to work, but it is a temporary fix. Wow, that is quite the distance of spacing needs too on that. Well, the spacing on this is so bad. Maybe this is just designed for fuel injection. Maybe that's where I missed the mark on this. But I'm going to make this work. I don't care how much spacing I have to do. I'm not returning this. This is suspect even by my standards, but it'll work. I mean, it'll bolt it on there. Well, this is turning out to be way more of an adventure than I expected. Should have known, right, buying this stuff that I did. But I'll just keep telling myself it was all less than $100. The truth is, this stuff is so confusing trying to figure out what fits what sometimes. I mean, because whenever you're looking at this stuff on Amazon, so it doesn't really surprise me. But I think that's actually going to work right there. We had to add an additional spacer back here, but it looks good. It actually looks like it's part of the head. I think that'll do it. Now we can tighten on our manifold. These bolts right here are very tough to get to. But I just want to tighten them just a hair. Just get them tight enough so when I pull that carb off, the manifold can shift with it, because whenever you go to pull the carb off, it might rotate a little bit. But truth be told, I've had them move on me before. Never had a problem with them. Never have. I've also mounted these up when I didn't know any better and didn't even line anything up. I just slapped it on there and slapped the carb on. Never had a problem, so... Just goes to show you, you can mount stuff pretty squirrely sometimes and it'll still work. Not recommended though. In case you're wondering, I'm using a piece of an Allen head, or an Allen key, in the bolt, and then I'm using a 1/4-inch wrench just to turn it. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing to get it started. There are special tools for this. We got our manifold torqued down, and of course had to pull our car back off and get everything ready. Now that we got the choke cable and the throttle cable and everything on it. Is this going to go? Yeah, it's going to go. Tight fit. Oh, the joys of making different aftermarket parts fit together. No need to really tighten on these since we're going to be pulling these bolts right back out. But I think everything's going to fit up pretty good. I think that's going to work. We got our clearance up there where that was hitting the carb body. We got these torqued down up on the workbench, good enough. Got our throttle cable in, our choke cable. Choke cable is also an Amazon special, so we shall see on that. Those don't have great reviews, but why not? We're already going Amazon and everything else. But I forgot about our amazing little cover here. This thing's just kind of screws on like that. I mean, it don't look bad. I mean, It's good in the looks department. It's just the quality. It's just not there. That's about as far as she's going to go. Is that even centered? I don't know. Close enough for now. I think we're going to call this video a wrap here. Let's take a look at some of our handiwork. CARB's looking pretty good. It's good in the looks department. We'll find out in the works department later on. Got to replace our bolts here, of course. Now this right here, I was doing some thinking on this. I wonder if this was for fuel injection models, and that's why this is so tight up here. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point. But right now I can get about maybe a piece of paper between this and the CARB. It's not touching it, so I think it's going to be fine. But I'm pretty sure that the throttle bodies and CV carbs had the same mount points on there, but just guessing at this point. So we got our throttle cableage on. I think it's going to be a hair too long, but we'll make it work. And over here, got our choke cable, another Amazon find. Now, I can't remember exactly on 90 Sportsters where the choke from the factory would mount up, because remember, this bike had that Mikuni carb on and everything was just all kind of messed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a top motor mount from a newer style Sportster, which, you know, they all mount up the same, but what it'll do is it'll put our choke mount about right there, which would be pretty nice. And then most importantly, since we're running a left side petcock, it has an opening to run your fuel line straight down. So that should work out pretty slick. What else did we work on? Oh yeah, our wonderful, you know, Rust-Oleum restore through here. It came out pretty nice. Hopefully it lasts long enough for somebody to at least enjoy it. And we worked on the fender. That's right. We trimmed the fender up a little bit, got rid of those ugly mount holes and smoothed that out. We tweaked the front fender or straightened it a little bit, and of course mocked up our gas tank. So we made some pretty good progress. So when we get back with you guys, I got two options of where we're going to start. Notice I said start because I never know how these videos go or what could happen along the way. Option one is with our wheels. Now, I like to spend a lot of time on the wheels, especially cleaning them up, because I just think it really makes a big impact on the looks of the bike. Also, we got to repack bearings. We got, of course, new wheel seals for them. And also, if you remember on the rear wheel, we had the wrong size brake rotor. Somebody somehow managed to force fit the wrong brake rotor on the back. Luckily, there's no wheel damage, but we do have a new brake rotor for that. And also, we got to work on these fork seals. Hopefully, the fork seals are just, you know, rather basic and we don't have any problems with it. So, you know, we'll keep our fingers crossed on those. The other option is going to be to start on the wiring. Now, I am going to be doing a very, very basic, almost, we'll just call it a chopper style wiring harness on this sucker. So it's going to be very limited, but I am waiting on a few parts for it right now, switches and so forth, stuff like that. And this is one of these things that even though it's basic, when you get into it, sometimes you can have some head scratcher moments. So we'll just have to see, but I'll make a decision on that. I think most of it's just going to hinge on me getting all those little parts in. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you've been watching the whole series on this bike, thank you so much for that. I think we're finally making some progress on this old ride. We're starting to see some things just come around a little bit, but boy, it hasn't been without some kicking and screaming, both from the bike and from me as well. We've got a lot of videos coming for this bike in the future, as well as another one lurking here in the background. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. As always, I thank you guys so much for watching. We'll chat with you next time.